Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. I want you to lean in for a second, because today we're going to uncover a hidden psychological secret about human nature, and it is literally hiding right in plain sight. It's something we all run into every single day, probably without ever realizing the subtle traps we're stepping into. We're talking about the hidden dangers of polite conversation. By the time we wrap up, you're going to have a totally new toolkit for navigating those tricky social waters, and above all else, protecting your peace of mind. Let's get right into it.
Okay, picture this. You're chilling at a local coffee shop with some friends, or maybe some coworkers, and somebody leans over to you and says, "Your husband is wonderful, isn't he? He helps out so much." Now, honestly, how would you instinctively react to that? You'd probably smile, right? Give a little nod, maybe feel a warm sense of pride. I mean, it seems like a completely harmless compliment, no red flags at all. Well, hold on to that thought, because our source material today reveals this fascinating, kind of counterintuitive premise about what is actually happening just beneath the surface of that exact sentence.
Which brings us to section 1, the trap behind praise.
I know what you might be thinking. It sounds completely backwards to suggest that giving or receiving a compliment could somehow be a bad thing, right? We're taught to be nice, to flatter people, to build them up. But in the incredibly nuanced world of social dynamics, everyday compliments aren't always what they seem. Because here's the thing. Praise rarely exists in a vacuum. Let's say you're praising husband A for being this absolute superstar who cooks, cleans, and kills it at work. Well, you are simultaneously, and usually entirely by accident, creating this invisible, super uncomfortable hierarchy in the room. Anyone else sitting there whose spouse might be, struggling a bit, or just isn't naturally domestic, they suddenly feel like they're being compared and coming up short. The compliment to one person literally casts a shadow of inadequacy right over someone else. So before you even realize it, your simple, polite words have sparked a quiet, simmering resentment.
And get this whole dynamic doesn't just happen with praise. It totally happens with sympathy too. Just imagine this super relatable scenario. You're casually venting to a friend about how your partner, say, never ever does the laundry, and your friend responds with deep empathy, saying, "Wow, that's terrible, you must be so exhausted." Boom. Suddenly, the entire dynamic flips. You feel this sudden rush of tension. Instead of feeling supported, you're thrust right into a defensive position, suddenly wanting to protect your partner. I mean, you just wanted to blow off a little steam, but your friend's intense sympathy accidentally crossed a boundary and turned into a critique of your family. It's like a trap. It forces you into this super awkward space where you suddenly feel obligated to defend the exact same flaws you were literally just complaining about.
So that leads us right into section 2, the risk of agreeing to bad-mouthing.
Let's just slow down for a second and let the gravity of that sink in. We've just seen how innocent praise and sympathy can completely backfire. But what happens when the conversation takes a dark turn into, say, workplace breakroom gossip or schoolyard chatter? This is where these social traps get incredibly sticky, and the risks to your personal reputation absolutely skyrocket. Consider this everyday phrase. That must be so tough for you. We use it all the time, right? When someone is bad-mouthing a boss or complaining about a friend, just nodding along and tossing out that exact phrase feels like the polite, normal thing to do. You're just showing basic empathy, keeping the peace, validating their feelings. But our source material throws up a massive red flag here. It warns that this instinct to just keep the peace actually hides a highly dangerous trap.
So the crucial point here is just how incredibly fast basic politeness mutates into something else entirely. By just nodding and validating someone's toxic gossip, you're crossing a major line. You go from empathy straight to complicity. Words are dangerous. The absolute second they leave someone's mouth, they take on a life of their own. If you're nodding along to a nasty rumor just because you want to avoid an awkward confrontation, guess what? You've just become a co-conspirator, literally. Because later on, that gossiper can honestly turn around and say, "Oh yeah, they totally agreed with me." Your polite, harmless little nod just endorsed their bad behavior.
And this brings us to a really fascinating Japanese concept from our source material called happo bijin. Roughly translated, it means someone who is beautiful in all 8 directions. But in practical, everyday terms, it means a chronic people pleaser. We all know one, right? This is the person who nods in deep, soulful sympathy right to your face, but totally criticizes you the literal second you leave the room. The harsh reality we have to face here is that today's sympathetic listener is very often tomorrow's gossiper. If you show polite complicity to a happo bijin, they can and absolutely will use it against you later. Your agreeable, nice nature literally becomes their weapon. Crazy, right?
Okay, take a breath. I know these facts can feel a little anxiety-inducing. But don't worry, we're not just going to leave you hanging. Welcome to Section 3, Techniques to Distance from Topics.
All right, it's time to talk about the practical, actionable ways you can actually distance yourself from these traps and actively protect your mental peace. You absolutely do not have to be a victim to polite conversation. So, here are your conversational shields. Ready? First up, keep your reactions deliberately shallow. Just stick to totally non-committal phrases like, "Oh, really?" or "Huh, is that so?" Keep it surface level. Second, heavily withhold your personal opinions. Seriously, you do not owe anyone a deep psychological analysis of their marital problems or their workplace beefs. And third, master the art of the pivot. Gracefully or, hey, even abruptly if you have to, just change the subject. Bring up the crazy weather we're having, a new movie you saw, or a shared hobby. These shields are brilliant because they let you exit the trap seamlessly without causing a big dramatic scene.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next tool, which is silence. So often, we've used silence in a conversation as a total failure, right? Like it's this awkward void that we desperately need to fill up with nervous chatter. But the source material reframes silence completely. Silence is actually a proactive, incredibly safe choice. It prevents friction. Think about it. By simply nodding slightly, without adding a single word, you show you're listening, sure, but you give the gossipers zero ammunition to use against you later. It is your ultimate empowering tool. It helps you maintain a safe distance rather than being a sign of social weakness.
Moving right along, let's dive into Section 4, the unmemorable position.
Now, this is a really comforting twist in our explainer, and honestly, it goes entirely against standard modern self-help advice. We are constantly, endlessly told to stand out, to be charismatic, to make a splash and leave our mark in every single room we enter. But what if there is incredible, hidden value in simply being completely forgettable? Seriously, being unmemorable in these high-drama social situations is actually an invisible superpower. If you maintain a bland, totally neutral profile when the gossip starts flying, you are never the target. Because you aren't trying to be super sharp or impressive or highly opinionated, people actually begin to trust you more. They realize you aren't a threat to them. By just fading into the background when conversations turn toxic, you quietly build this rock-solid foundation of safety and reliability. It's a total game changer.
Which leads us to our final act today, Section 5, Relationships that Protect Yourself.
It is time to zoom out, look at the macro view, and see how all of this builds a completely liberating framework. How do we permanently structure our overall social mindset to keep ourselves safe, calm, and grounded? Well, it breaks down into 3 steps. Step 1, stop trying to meet everyone's expectations. It's literally an impossible game, so just put the controller down. Step 2, fundamentally accept your inability to satisfy gossipers. They want drama. You are refusing to supply that drama. Let them be disappointed in your lack of a reaction. It's fine. And step 3, maintain a comfortable, shallow distance. You do not have to bare your soul to every single person you meet. By finally letting go of that desperate need to please the whole room, you unlock genuine, lasting mental peace.
Truly embrace the freedom of not meeting expectations. I really want to reassure you here. It is completely okay, and in fact, it is deeply honest to accept that you cannot and definitely should not sacrifice your own well-being just to fulfill other people's social demands. If someone fully expects you to join in on criticizing a coworker and you just offer them a blank wall of silence instead, you are choosing your own peace over their toxic expectation. And that, my friends, is what true freedom looks like.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with one final, provocative question to chew on. Are your conversational boundaries actually protecting your peace, or are they accidentally feeding the gossip? The next time someone leans in to whisper a complaint or offers up a weirdly loaded compliment, remember the tools we unpacked here today. Choose the shallow reaction. Choose the pivot. Choose silence. You have the absolute power to stay unmemorable to the drama and fiercely, deeply protective of your own peace.